Welcome back to the Press Box. Mark Haskell, Zach Miller here. We've got lots to talk about as usual. We've got some local stuff. We've got some NFL playoffs to cover. But first, we're going to start on the local scene. Zach, we're shooting this on a Thursday, so last night you were at the Madomic, Camden Hills, and Coney wrestling match. I mean, Madomic and Camden Hills, they've been pretty, tit-or-tat this whole season. They've been really, really close. They've been in a lot of competitive matches, and you were there last night. How did things kind of shake out between the Windjammers, the Panthers, the Rams as well? Just how did that whole meet go?
Well, kind of to lead in what you just said, going into the match, Camden Hills was 15-3 on the year coming in dual matches. Madomic was 16-4. And Coney, according to the MPA site, and sometimes the MPA site isn't up to date on wrestling results, which is kind of ironic because they're the Band Principals Association. But Coney, according to the MPA site, was 12-2. So you can kind of get a gauge for how these teams have fared throughout most of the season.
A big mid-season matchup.
It is. Actually, most toward the end of the season, really, because isn't KVACs
That's true. KVACs are like a week or two away.
Yeah,
so we're getting close now.
So anyway, going into the last night, three powerhouses in the wrestling world: Camden and Coney in Class A, Madomic from B South, I think they're in for wrestling. And also one of the longest wrestling meets I think I've ever attended. The meet started at 6. I got there around 6:30, and then I left around 9, and Camden and Madomic were still wrestling. Because most of the time we go to these wrestling meets, and the teams have 5, 6, most teams have 5 or 6 kids. Madomic has a full team. Camden has a full team where all the weight classes will have someone wrestling, and Coney has a full team. So every single weight class had a wrestler, which also makes for great wrestling because Coney has state championship wrestlers from last year, Madomic does, and Camden does. So seeing all these wrestlers go at it, like Noah Lang, Elias Miller, and a couple kids from Coney, they flipped the script really when most of these Madomic or Camden kids were going into these meets and winning, and now they have a real match on their hands to help them prepare for KVACs and states down the line.
And that's one of those things that you can never really know how long a wrestling match is going. A full dual meet, from the lowest weight class to the highest. You never really know how long they're going to go. It really does depend on not only the size of the teams, but how evenly matched the competitors are. I mean, because if you've got 10 matches and they're all going to go the full 3 periods, then and you've got Camden and Madomic have got to wrestle each other, and then Madomic and Coney, and then Camden and Coney. I mean, you could be in for a 4-hour match. But a lot of times, there are a lot of quick squash matches. You've got a great wrestler on this side, and an inexperienced guy on the other side, and the matches go quickly. So you don't really know. But so far this season, when it comes to Camden and Madomic, those have stretched out pretty long.
Yeah, it really has, because like you said, you get the good wrestlers, they go pretty quick. Like Noah Lang can pin a kid in under a minute. Elias Miller from Madomic can pin a kid in under a minute. You get those kids that are state champions from previous seasons wrestling, you know what to expect. It's when you get other kids that are evenly matched in skill-wise for different weight classes that can go the full 3 rounds, which are 2 minutes each, so you're talking a 6-minute match. And also last night, which was, I've never seen this before, we had multiple blood injuries on the mat. I think Max Dingle for Camden Hills had a bloody nose, a continuous bloody nose in his match. They had to stop the match 4 or 5 times. And in wrestling, you get about 5 minutes of blood time. He didn't use all of it, but for blood time, they count it from when you start bleeding to the moment you stop bleeding. So you still may be getting, tissue up the nose to stop the bleeding.
Right.
And once that tissue's up there and the ref can't see any more blood coming out, the blood time stops.
And that's
even
another
though they're
thing
still not wrestling.
That's another thing that can make the meets drag along. If you get a few of those blood timeouts, a lot of times you're just sitting around looking at your watch like, oh, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, Lindsay, our athletic trainer for Madomic, was very busy last night and went through a lot of paper towels on the mat.
Lindsay Carr, shout out. Look at you.
Exactly.
All right. So obviously that was, so do we know what the final scores were?
I have a couple. We're still missing the Camden Madomic Valley, but talking to Brian Guest, whose son wrestles for Madomic, he was there last night. He said Camden beat Madomic. Not as close as the other 2 matches from the previous season. The first match, Madomic beat Camden by criteria. So criteria means they got more pins than Camden Hills, and if that's equal, then they go down to the next thing. And then the second match, which was just on last Saturday, Camden beat Madomic by criteria. In this one, Camden Hills handily beat Madomic. Madomic had a couple normal kids that were out, and so they had to shuffle up their lineup a little bit, so maybe that played a role in each weight class. But Coney beat Camden 41-30, and Madomic beat Coney 57-24. and then Camden Hills beat Madomic. But I don't have a final score.
One of the other things about wrestling is make no bones about it. These dual meets and these rivalries, they mean a lot. But at the same time, when it comes down to like what your dual meet win-loss record is, it really doesn't make as big a difference as it does, say basketball or hockey or things like that. It doesn't really affect your seeding once the the KVACs and the regionals, and if you qualify when the states come around. So a lot of times you've got kids that are just working on certain things, and maybe this kid A could pick kid B pretty easily, but maybe they're just working on trying to accumulate points instead of just going for quick pins. So you got a lot of that kind of stuff going on, especially in late season matches as well. But I think Madomic, Camden especially, Oceanside and Mount View probably as well, and also Belfast, they've got some kids. But as far as wrestling goes in this area, Camden and Madomic are the cream of the crop, I would say. I think that'd be fair to say.
I'd probably put Belfast in the top 3 as well. They're probably the third team.
Yeah, I'd say third. Especially Mount View and Oceanside, they don't really have the numbers.
But they have good wrestlers, though.
No question. I was at Belfast last night, and I saw a little bit of their matches with Mount Ararat, Brunswick. They're a co-op team, and with Nokomis. I don't have any finals in from those matches yet, but Mount Ararat, Brunswick, they handled Belfast pretty easily, I will say, in the matches that I saw. And that's not an indictment on Belfast either, because they do have a lot of really great wrestlers. But I think Belfast will be one of those teams. When KVACs roll around, they're going to have plenty of kids that are going to be in the discussion for conference championships at their respective weight classes. So, but we've got KVACs coming up for all the wrestlers here in just a couple weeks. We also have KVAC cheering coming up.
That's right.
On Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Get those roads plowed.
That's right. Sunday
Sports never sleeps.
Sunday we're going to have a lot of snow. That'll be interesting to see if maybe that gets pushed or postponed or something like that, because a KVAC championship, it's an invitational. It's not depending on how you do in the KVACs, it depends on how you do in the regionals, or it seeds you for states and things like that. So I've seen in the past where KVACs have been just flat out canceled because of weather.
That's true.
So that's always something that could happen. But we've got Mount View and Madomic competing. We also have Belfast cheering competing for the very first time.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is kind of cool, So they're making a resurgence, and they're trying to build their cheer program up. So that's something that I'm sure Zach and I will be at on Monday if weather permits. As far as tonight goes, we've got a couple games we're hitting. I'm going to be hitting the Oceanside MCI boys basketball game. And that's going to be a really big game. We're looking at the standings, and both those teams are 8-3. Right now, the Oceanside boys are sitting in 5th.
They just beat Winslow.
Correct. And the MCI boys are sitting 7th. So this is a very valuable game. I was looking at the way the heel points could shake out. Either team wins this game, they're going to be right up in that. Oceanside's 5th anyway, but Oceanside could jump to 4, I think, and MCI could jump from 7 to somewhere between 4 and 5, depending on all the other games that are going on tonight. There's a lot of Thursday games, but obviously Ellsworth, they're sitting 4 right now. So this MCI Oceanside game tonight could be worth some serious heel points, and could really come down to are we hosting quarterfinal games? Are we hosting prelim games? Are we getting direct berths right to the Cross Center in February? So that's going to be a big matchup tonight.
Yeah, and I'll be at the Morse Madomic Valley boys game, and Madomic Valley has lost 3 or 4 games now by single-digit points, and not 7, 8 points, 2, 3, 1, 4, 5 points, and now they're sitting right out of the playoffs right now. So they have to kind of turn it around after this 3 or 4 game skid that they've been on, and hopefully they can get it against Morse. So we were talking earlier that Morse always plays Madomic tough, no matter where they go. So we'll see how it goes.
Morse is one of those teams with Madomic. They always play them tough. And I was looking at actually Morse beat Madomic 66-63 earlier this season in Bath. So this is a really big game for Madomic if they got to get this win over Morse, if they want to potentially get some, as Don Shields calls them, the jiggle points late in the season. You know what I mean? Getting points for teams that Morse beats throughout the season. They're hopefully going to be able to sneak up into that 8 spot. So this is even though you look at Morse's record, I think they're 3-8. This is a big game tonight for Madomic boys.
Yep, it is.
So we've got a lot of other action coming up on Saturday. Oceanside and Mount View will be playing each other in dual games. Lots of things happening. But we're going to turn the page and we're going to talk a little NFL playoffs. We've got
we
a lot of NFL playoffs going on. Obviously, I'm super disappointed that the Eagles lost
that first
to the
quarter
Saints.
though really lifted your spirits up, and then
You know what? It really didn't though. You were texting me, and a bunch of people were texting me like, wow, 14-0, great start. And Carson Wentz who, and all this kind of stuff. But I knew, the Saints, they're so tough, and I'm like, there's 3 quarters to go. Like I'm not. I went media dark. I'm like, I'm not speaking to anybody.
I was gonna say you never texted me back.
No, I did not.
Took it personally.
It's not
That's
because
why
I
they
don't,
lost.
It's not because I don't
If
care
you had
for you
texted me
deeply.
back, the Eagles would have beaten the Saints.
But what about all the other people that texted me?
Well, they don't count.
Yeah, they don't count. Only you count. But no, when the Saints took that 17-14 lead, I'd already kind of resigned myself to the fact that they were going to lose. And then the Saints, they missed that field goal. Then all of a sudden the Eagles have a short field. Foles makes a big throw, and then they get a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty, I think. And all of a sudden, the Eagles are 25 yards away from taking the lead in this game. And they sucked me in. I was like, oh my God, it's going to happen again. I can't believe it. And then Jeffrey misses that ball, and it gets picked off by Marshawn Lattimore, and the Eagles' season ends. And it was such an amazing season for the Eagles. They were dead to rights. They were 4-6. They had to win 5 of their last 6 to get it. The teams they beat, they had to beat Houston, which helped the Patriots get a bye. Then they had to go and beat the Rams on the road, and they did it. They did all these things just to get there, and then they snuck by Chicago. So for all intents and purposes, it was a really successful season for the Eagles. I'm really happy with the way things shook out, but not everybody wants to hear about my Eagles. There were lots of other games, including, wow, the Patriots with a huge win over the Chargers, and they made it look easy. I don't know, the final score was, I think, 41-28.
It wasn't that close.
And it wasn't that close.
No.
There was, typical
like
Phillip Rivers
30-something to
garbage time
7 at
touchdowns
halftime.
toward the end.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people were thinking that, not only might the Chargers win this game, but that game would be the game of the weekend. And it was the most lopsided game of the weekend by a lot.
Yeah, I would say about the Eagles and Saints game was supposed to be...
I think that was the best game.
Yeah, the Eagles-Saints was supposed to be the most lopsided, which wound up being the closest game.
Go
the
figure.
Patriots and Chargers was the complete opposite.
Go figure. We don't really know anything.
Yeah. But anyway, we're back to, where Patriots fans thought we would be at this point in the season in the AFC Championship game. We'll start with the NFC Championship game because we'll go in order of TV here.
That's fine.
So,
3:05 start for the NFC game.
Yep, that's on Fox. The Saints are a 3.5-point favorite at home. Here's an interesting stat. Drew Brees and head coach Sean Payton have never lost at home in the playoffs since 2006, I think, since they became head coach and quarterback.
Wow.
They're 6-0.
Okay.
The Saints are ranked second in rush defense in 2018. And the Rams are 2-3 this season when they're rushing under 100 yards. So now you really have to ask yourself, which Jared Goff are you going to get?
Right.
Are you going to get the good Jared Goff that we've seen throughout, this season, or are we going to get the Jared Goff of his rookie year where he just sucked pond water?
Right.
And going into New Orleans in a dome, noise is a factor because it's always loud there. I don't see the Rams winning. I see the Saints winning pretty easily, actually.
Well, I think you look at both of these conference championship games, I think there has the potential to be a lot of scoring. All 4 of these teams can score, and they can score big, and they can score at will. I think that the Saints are going to be. I really don't see the Saints putting up. They scored 20 points against the Eagles last week. We called it a goose egg, but that's not what I mean. But I don't see them being held under 20 points again, second week in a row. Jared Goff. He's a really good quarterback. He's not going to be fighting the elements, which is a good thing. Everyone's going to be inside. The weather's not going to be an issue. I think that New Orleans, really kind of. Think about it. Philly scored those first 2 touchdowns. They didn't allow a single point the rest of the game.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like they had a couple tough drives, and after that they kind of shut everybody down. And I think it's going to be a really good matchup, but my pick all year has been Saints Patriots, and I'm sticking with it. I think that I think the Saints are legit. I think the Rams are too. I think both these games have potential to be real, just classics actually. But I'm gonna give the nods to the Saints at home.
That's probably a good pick because home teams have won the NFC Championship game 5 straight times.
Yep.
So easy pick there. Second one, Patriots at Chiefs, 6:40 on CBS. Nice late start time. It's going to be cold.
Not as cold as we thought.
That's true. Predictions, I think from yesterday, were calling for -5 to 10 degree weather.
Now they're saying that they're maybe not going to get that Arctic chill. It might be more like just a regular heat wave.
20 degrees.
People might be wearing shorts in Kansas City on Sunday. But yeah, it's going to be about probably 20 degrees around kickoff. But this is going to be a really good game, and obviously it's a rematch from earlier this year. The Patriots won that game 43-40 in Foxborough. That was an absolute shootout.
Last-second field goal.
Yeah, and now here they are. One of these teams is going to go to the Super Bowl. I guess I kind of already tipped my hand. I feel like the Patriots are going to win. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I've got some things that favor the Patriots to say and some things that don't favor the Patriots to say about this game. So the last time the Pats and Chiefs met, which you just mentioned, New England put up 500 yards of offense, which was their highest offensive output for the whole season. And the Chiefs' defense isn't that great. Their pass defense is ranked 31st in the NFL out of 32 teams, if you didn't know. They give up the 5th most receiving yards to running backs. Hello, James White, if you're watching. You're not, as Mark would say. And then they average 5 yards per carry, which is 2nd worst in the NFL. So remember last week we were talking about, Sony Michel, or a couple weeks ago, hasn't looked that great, but he was pretty good against the Chargers. And if he can keep that going against the Chiefs, if the stats say he can, it looks like he can. If he can get an average over 5 yards per carry, I think the Chiefs are in for a long day. And like you said, the scoring outputs for these games could be monumental.
Right, and I think Sony Michel is a nice running back. I'm not saying that he's a bad running back, but I think you also have to give a lot of credit to New England's offensive line. They really pushed. I mean, they pushed Bosa around and Ingram around, and a lot of those guys on the D line. And I think a lot of people were thinking that those guys are really going to create problems for Brady and the O line, and that didn't happen at all.
No, it didn't.
Not one bit.
I think the acquisition in the offseason of Trent Brown, their big left tackle, who's about 6'75" tall and weighs 500 million pounds, has really protected Brady's blind side. I think he's actually been an upgrade over was it Nate Solder, who went to the Giants?
Solder went to the Giants.
So I actually think he's been an upgrade because, like you said, he handled Joey Bosa. It's just been, the 3rd pick in the draft from last year, coming out of Ohio State. He was just a hell of a pass rusher.
Yep.
And I don't think he had one sack or even got to Brady. Did he even get to Brady last week?
I don't think he got one sack on him. No.
So he's been an upgrade. The whole offensive line, like you said, has been an upgrade as well. So now we're going to flip it here, and I only have some things that don't favor the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Also against the Chiefs as well. So the Pats have surrendered 40-plus points in a game 4 times since 2013. Okay. One time was to the Eagles in the Super Bowl last year.
Once was to the Chiefs in that.
Not just once, 3 times.
Really?
3 out of those 4 times the Chiefs have scored 40 or more points against the Pats since 2013, which is interesting. Now, we were talking about the temperatures. This was all the stuff I got from, if it was from yesterday, and obviously weather changes with day to day. But if they do wind up getting the Arctic front, Pro Football Reference says no team has ever cracked a 30-point mark in a game that starts with a temperature below freezing. Ever.
No,
ever.
And that was going to be my big thing that I was going to talk about. Is the reason why I think the Patriots have the edge is because, Arctic chill weather like that is not something that Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and these guys that rely a lot on speed and playmaking ability, that's something that was really, really going to hamper them. But if the weather's not going to be as cold as they think it's going to be, obviously I think that this game could really, it's really just going to come down to who's going to make more plays. And I know that's like, cliche, to say that. I mean, obviously, whoever scores more points is going to win. But, when you look at this, I mean, it's I think they're going to try to score some points, right? Oh, good. You don't think they're going to try to lose the game on purpose. Oh, good. But no, I mean, Brady and Belichick, they've been in these games, and to me, it comes down to a couple things. I mean, you can throw all your stats and everything, just throw them out the window.
I still need those. It wasn't done.
What it comes down to is Brady, if you have one game to win, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tom Brady every time.
And it comes down to Bill Belichick coaching against Andy Reid. And again, Andy Reid he's put up a ton of offensive numbers. Mahomes, 50 touchdowns. Whether Mahomes wins or loses this game, he's going to be the MVP this year. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. But when it comes down, when the lights are brightest and there's a Super Bowl hanging in the balance, how is Mahomes going to respond? How are the Chiefs going to respond? Yeah, it's like I was saying last year leading into the Super Bowl, when I thought the Patriots would beat the Eagles. There are so many extra things that you're not thinking about, all the media day stuff and, and all these things that you have to overcome, not just, on the field, but, mentally leading up to the game. How will they respond to these things? And I just think Brady has proved so many times that, He's better than the rest when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Well, it's interesting you brought up all that good stuff about Brady, but the Patriots have lost the last 3 AFC Championship games on the road. They're 3-4 in road playoff games for past couple years. And the home team in the AFC Championship game has won 11 out of the past 12 years. Obviously, those 11 have probably been the Patriots.
Right.
So
yeah, I think like I said, I think both these games have the potential to just be total classics. And and I'm picking the Pats and the Saints, but I would be one bit surprised next week if we're saying the Super Bowl is going to be the Rams and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Which is another unbelievable shootout that we saw from earlier. What was that, like the 43-35? That was that Monday night game.
No, it was like 54. Or
yeah, no, yeah, right.
something.
So it was
crazy.
54-51, and it was an unbelievable shootout. And it was a Monday night game, and everybody's like, this is the future of the NFL, and maybe it is. But I mean, that's just another Super Bowl matchup that would just make people go, wow. I mean, this is just no matter who wins. I mean, this Super Bowl coming up is going to be it's going to be something special for sure.
It really is. And the Chiefs are 3-point favorites at home. To kind of give you an idea where Vegas is thinking right now, it's like, well, you're a field goal favorite. So
well, what are the Patriots saying now? Bet against us? Is that like their new slogan that they're doing?
But seriously, people saying that the Patriots have sucked all year, they're just feeding off that.
No, and I don't like the way that the Patriots have been flying under the radar. I don't like it. I don't think it's cool that you guys are trying to pretend like you're the underdogs in this game.
Well, we are.
You're not the underdogs in this game.
3-point favorites of the Chiefs. So technically
speaking, you call yourself whatever you want, but I'm never calling you guys underdogs in any game ever. So, but yeah. Anyway, we've got a lot to look forward to this weekend. A lot of local stuff,
nice
a lot of
snowy
fun.
Sunday of football.
That's right. We'll all be locked in. We'll be watching our plow guys plow the driveways.
Don't forget to get the bread and milk.
That's right, and we'll be watching a lot of football, and we'll talk more about these games and some of the local stuff next week. Until then, I'm Mark. This is Zach, and this has been the Press Box.